Live from the Jaco Pastorius estate, the Ryen Russillo podcast. Today, what do we have for you? We have a lot of football. College Tuesday, Thursday NFL. Is it the new thing? No, it's just the way that it worked out. Mike Sando, he has his quarterback tiers. Annual stuff just came out. I love it, except for one part. And then Domonique Foxworth. We have a lot of fun stuff to talk about here. We get a little nerdy on the CBA stuff. What would it be like to be an owner? And his thoughts on Travis Hunter that are just so simple, they're perfect. And life advice. Feedback with more life advice. Enjoy. It's that time of the year. Quarterback tiers are out from Mike Sando. The Athletic just came out, and we have them on every summer to run through it, have some fun. Okay, let's do this the way we do it every year. So there's 5 tier 1 quarterbacks. Can you, I don't know, I didn't even prep you for this. Do you have kind of like rough off the top of your head, what's the largest number of tier 1 quarterbacks you've had, the smallest number of tier 1 quarterbacks you've had? What is it?
I think the largest may have been like 9. There was kind of an era where maybe Andrew Luck came up and there was still Breeze and Brady and Rodgers and all those Rivers maybe made it that year. You know, I think 9 is the highest off the top of my head. And I think last year maybe the lowest. There was only 3. I think last year it was only Burrow, Mahomes, and Allen because Lamar was just on the edge. And then he came crashing through after last season to be just up with those other guys, not unanimous, but very close.
So we've got 5 tier 1 guys. Josh Allen had 3 tier 2 votes. Like what is going on now?
Yeah. It would be like, if I could do this, I mean, obviously the top 4 would be easy tier 1s for me, Burrow, Mahomes, Allen, and Jackson. But if this would be a little cleaner if like Mahomes was unanimous and like if Burrow had like 2 tier 2 votes like these other guys. I think that there's 3 tier 2 votes for Josh Allen. There's 4 for Lamar Jackson. I think we look at those 2 players and say, you know, to a larger degree than the others, they rely on their running as a quarterback. I think there's a small number of people in the league that, you know, think the running dries up and the other 2 guys, probably Burrow and Mahomes, are the best passers in the league, and they're prioritizing that a little bit more. But I get asked about it a lot, but I think it's a little bit of a waste of time just because they're so overwhelmingly in tier 1, all 4 of those guys, that I think that's probably the broader takeaway here. And then there's a big gap to Matthew Stafford, who just kind of eked into the bottom of tier 1, but is in a totally different, zip code within tier 1.
Is Stafford making tier 1 for the first time at age 37 mean this is stupid?
Does it mean this is stupid?
I love it, by the way. Like, it sounds like, so what are you doing? You're shitting on my life's work here, Russillo? Thank you for having me on again. You know what I'm saying? Like, it just felt like, so now we can do it with him?
Nah, here's what it is. So I'll put it this way. It's like he moved to a new state, but he moved 100 yards across the border. Put it to you that way, because he's always been like a high tier 2, and people said, he's real close to tier 1. So this year he got 5 more votes in tier 1 out of the whole panel. Well, guess what? The panel's different. I might have 20 different guys. So I may have just, through the luck of the draw, gotten 5 more people that would have had Stafford in tier 1 last year, but they weren't on my panel. Does that make sense? Because it's not like there's a sea change to where, oh my gosh, Stafford's declared a tier 1. In some cases with the conversations, I quoted one person, because I'll do this. I don't steer people towards changing their vote, but I ask them, I want them to be accountable for their choices. So when Stafford, they describe him like a tier 1, and then they say he's high tier 2. And so with one guy said, like, okay, well, what do you have to do to be in tier 1? And like, it was silence. He's like, that's a really good question, because I just basically described tier 1, made him a 1. I think he's on that border, but he's clearly not Burrow, Mahomes, Allen, and Jackson, just in his probably ability to just carry it week to week for a whole season. You still don't want to play him, but I'd probably like to have him in tier 2 just to make it a little cleaner.
Huh. Okay. I guess I always felt like he was underrated. It was a bit like Sam Presti with the Thunder, where it's like, okay, so now guess what? We all get to say we all get to agree that Sam Presti is incredible at his job. And that's the way I felt about Stafford for a really long time. He was I don't want to turn it into the Matt Cain lack of run support analogy that I like to throw out every now and then, but I mean, that's what we're looking at with him in Detroit, in all those years. And it's just, it just feels, and it's funny because there are examples where it's not just winning or losing, which certainly can influence the tier voting every single year. But then you have some examples where I'm like, wow, even though this has happened, it doesn't seem like it's swayed the voters all that much. I guess I've always been a big Stafford fan, and to see him finally be tier one, I don't know that he's going to get a shirt or any sort of plaque from you on this whole thing, but it kind of was, it just felt like a collective realization. But you're right. Like you're going through different voters all the time. So if 30% of the voters are different, they're going to see the sport different. So,
especially for the guys on the edge. So I guess it'd be nice if he was in tier 2 just because I think people are getting hung up on it. Like, what did he do? I don't think there's a big change, but I'm happy for him that he made tier 1. I think he deserves it. Now, if we did the polling all this week with his back injury, I think, he'd probably lose a few tier 1 votes because the age concern is real for some of these guys, and it's probably pronounced, but it's cool. He had 11 straight years in tier 2, was close, probably would have been tier 1, some of those, if he was in a better situation. He's been in a good situation lately, and, he's a top quarterback. He's the last of a dying. He's part of a dying breed, really, of these guys who process expertly from the pocket, and that's what they do. That's what they hang their hat on. There's not another thing, right, that he does, that gives him an edge. I got something else for you, though, Ryan. Maybe this just occurred to me. I was going back. I'm looking here in a conversation I had with Dave Deschamps, who edits my columns and makes them a lot better. I was looking at tier 2 from 2020. Okay. Tier 2 from 2020. Look at your tier 2 right now. Okay. Jayden Daniels, Justin Herbert, Goff, Stroud, Jalen Hurts, Mayfield, Dak Prescott, Jordan Love, and Brock Purdy. Okay. Those are the names in tier 2 this year. The tier 2 guys in 2020 were Tom Brady, Lamar Jackson, Ben Roethlisberger, Matt Stafford, Matt Ryan, Carson Wentz, Dak Prescott, and Phillip Rivers. Isn't that interesting to you?
I knew that it was going to be all of the names sort of on the way out, where it's like that feels like a way more certain group of tier 2s than the names you just rattled off. Yeah.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. I think the league has gotten so young at the position, historically young. That's just what stands out to me about this whole thing. When I look at tier 2, it's like there's not guys like those guys, that are on the way down. We have a bunch of guys who could be on the way up. Possibly Jordan Love maybe can. Jayden Daniels is. We'll see what happens with Herbert, Stroud, a little bit more in flux.
Did you talk to that? I'm just trying to figure out the Lamar Jackson thing, because it'll be nice that First Take doesn't have to devote 3 days to what it means that Lamar Jackson is tier 2, because now he's tier 1. So congrats.
Yeah.
It must be nice to have this much power. What did you hear from the people that changed him from a tier 2 to a tier 1?
I think Lamar Jackson early in his career battled the idea and the fact that he was so much better as a runner than a passer. And then he got better and got better as he went along. But there was such a gap between what happened in the playoffs. It was like he got exposed in the playoffs. I think what's happened the last 2 years is he stayed on the field. He's been really good, better as a passer. They put the ball in his hands more. It's been more about him throwing. And then when he got in the playoffs, you can't blame him. I mean, he's been fine. Mark Andrews drops the ball, right? And I think last year, what really was different was he didn't have the top defense. The kicker was bad. Those things that let him and them play downhill and never really have to be in positions where they had to throw the ball much, the things that were outside of his control, he had to overcome those last year. So I had a conversation this week. We were debating, where Jalen Hurts is, and we got into this in the Hurts section. I noted that after the 4th game of the year, they only threw the ball 30 or more times in one game. And somebody pointed out that, hey, Lamar threw it 30 or more times, 8 times, but they were 3 and 5 in those games. He was trying to use it to knock Lamar. And I was like, wait a minute. We looked at those games where Lamar threw it 30 or more times. He had 17 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. He was money. And I think we saw that last year in hard-to-win games, shootouts with Joe Burrow. He was winning them, and it was because of him. So I think he really has just, like, those remaining boxes, even if you disagreed that those should have been, those should have held him back out of tier 1, like, they were all checked. The only thing he's got to do now is push it even deeper in the playoffs.
Let's talk about Hurts. I think I have the math right here. but Hurts tier 2. Overall, you have him 10th. And it looks like he has less tier 1 votes after winning the Super Bowl than losing the Super Bowl 2 years ago. What does that mean? Different voters again? I mean, just back to the default.
It's funny. So we've got this newsletter at The Athletic, and I started contributing to it now every week. And so it's the Scoop City newsletter. And that's what I put in there, was like, wait a minute, 2 years ago, he's higher than coming off a Super Bowl loss than he is now after a Super Bowl win. What's going on? Here's what I think's going on. When he lost the Super Bowl, he was younger, and he had really turned a corner in terms of his ability as a passer. And I think the optimism about him continuing to grow as a passer, hey, this is amazing. He's on his way to being a top tier passer. I think he got some projection votes. And then, they had 2023 wasn't a great year for the Eagles. A lot of up and down. They lost it a lot at the end. And then last year they were great, but they took the ball out of his hands. I mean, it was a Saquon Barkley show. So I think he is perceived to have probably plateaued as a passer, where, people wouldn't want to see them. They wouldn't think the Eagles or Hurts would be better served by opening it up more or having more of it on his arm, more of it on his shoulders. They think that he probably fits in, as a mid tier 2, maybe even fits some of the definition of tier 3. But hey, when you win the Super Bowl, most people aren't going to tier 3 you. So I think that's different from some of those guys at the top, like Jayden Daniels or even Justin Herbert, who hasn't done it in the postseason. And people feel like you could probably open it up a little bit more with them as passers than you could with Hurts.
We could do 30 plus QBs here, but I feel like Hurts is, I don't know who it's not the belt, but it would be, he is now going to be the test, right? If you don't love him, and he's now won a Super Bowl, he's played in 2 of the last 3, it's like, oh, there's something wrong with you. Like, you have your own limitations for him. And I think I would look at it as like, hey, it's okay. If Jalen Hurts, if there's 8, 11 guys better than him, it's okay. It's okay. It's not the end of the world. And I think when he's projected on the lower end of the rankings, and again, the timing always messes up everybody with all this stuff. It's like, oh, he just won a Super Bowl. It's like, hey, sometimes that happens. So, like, Trent Dilfer wasn't going to be 7th if you had done tiers after this with the Ravens. And I'm not comparing Jalen Hurts to Trent Dilfer. I just think that it's just, if Jalen Hurts is considered 8, 9, 10, 11, it's okay. And I don't think it's wrong.
Yeah, he's tied for 9. I think it's right. Like, if we switched him with where Jayden Daniels is right now, I think there'd be less conversation about Hurts. Don't you agree? If he was at the top of tier 2 and Daniels was a little bit lower, people could say, okay, hey, Stroud, regressed a little. Herbert didn't maintain, his tier 1 trajectory. It's fair to put Jayden Daniels in the middle of tier 2 and make him prove it again. And hey, good for you, Jalen Hurts. You're on the cusp of tier. We don't think you're tier 1, but you're the highest next guy because you've been going to Super Bowls. I think it would solve a lot of these conversations, but I don't know that it would be more accurate.
Yeah, I think people are paying attention to the 10 and not the 2. And you should pay attention to the 2 with this. And there was also, coming off the Super Bowl loss in Arizona, if you look at the AFC, it was like, okay, and even today with the tiers, the top 4 guys are all AFC. And part of the conversation around Hurts, and I remember going into the 24 season where it was like, is Hurts the best quarterback in the NFC? And I'm like, my gut reaction is no, like that can't already be true. And I'm like, right. It might be. And it's, whether it's everybody's kind of off of Dak, maybe too soon for Jordan Love, and Love is now kind of in his own, like, what is this? Is this guy actually going to be as good as a lot of us thought that we would? And the fact that Green Bay would pay him what they paid him made you feel, if you felt good about Jordan Love, then you're like, okay, well, this is confirmation of all this. But Stafford jumps up. The Jayden part of this, coming off an incredible rookie year, Goff continuing to put up a ton of numbers there. So now Hurts goes from like the certain best quarterback in that conference at the start of 2 seasons ago, if you're including 25, to now like in this other spot. But I don't know, man. It's not like you came out with this list and all of a sudden the NFL thinks he's like the 15th or 16th best quarterback. I think you got to pay more attention to, it's fine if there's 5 guys that are tier 1s. Hurts isn't one of those guys, and it's totally okay.
Yep, I agree. I don't think it's a slap in his face. So, but it's a talker. It was the number one pushback thing for this year has been that. So
yeah. Not surprising whatsoever. Give me the Brock Purdy. Look, you talk to so many different people, so you would think there's more variation. If I look at the voting here, 27 tier 2 votes, 23 tier 3 votes. He comes in at 14 overall. But there's an EPA number that you have for him over the last 3 years, and I'll stall here for a bit if you want to pull that up, where the number's just so impressive that maybe this is low for him, and maybe this is a team momentum thing. But, I mean, look, people struggle with Hurts. I think Purdy's an even tougher one to get consensus on.
Yeah, I think when you play the 49ers, you're not thinking, oh my gosh, we got Purdy this week. What are we going to do? I think you have respect for him, but you realize that, hey, it's about McCaffrey. It's about the whole scheme with Shanahan. And you look at, if we go on Pro Football Reference and look at the historical all-time leaders in yards per attempt, it's like Hall of Famer, Jimmy Garoppolo, Hall of Famer. And you go, okay, was Garoppolo one of those guys? Right? He had the great record, great EPA for a while too. I think Purdy's clearly better than that and adds a little bit of a dimension with his running, but I don't think that he's dynamic or special, athletically. He's just really good for what they want to do. And I think he's fine in tier 2. Now, the EPA stat was Purdy leads the NFL in EPA per pass play over the last 3 seasons. He was 5th in 2024. But as I pointed out, Tua Tagovailoa also ranks among the top 5. So similar scheme, right? It's a real tribute to what they do. And the quarterback's part of that. If you look at Tua's situation, they couldn't run a play without him. So there's something about who the quarterback is. But I don't think that, I don't think there's some special trait other than, hey, he throws with good anticipation and accuracy, right? There's not a game plan consideration that you have to have for him.
The Tua quotes, hey, if you're a Dolphins fan and you want to feel good about Tua, that's the best you're going to feel about him after you read those quotes. He had 12 tier 2 votes. He had 36 tier 3 votes. He had 2 tier 4 votes. And you're right, the EPA dropback thing looks great for Purdy. And then you're like, well, wait, if Tua's in this, then how do you feel about Tua? I think all of your guys nailed it with him. It's like if it's on schedule, everything's rolling. His accuracy is so special that it looks really good. And I think all of us know this now that have watched it. As soon as it's off script, you're like, what's going to happen now? And that's where the problems start.
And on top of that, he's a big hit away for maybe not playing more. I think that's why he got 2 4s. There's some people who think I think that end's nearing, it's a miracle he's made it this far. So hopefully that's not the case. Hopefully he can stay healthy. But they're really at a crossroads. They kind of paid him, gone all in, pretty much spending the last few years, and then, haven't had a lot to show for it.
Let's talk about the rookies, because Jayden coming in at 6th, that's the highest debut ever.
Yeah.
That's higher than Andrew Luck?
Well, Andrew Luck was 2012 rookie class, and I started doing this in 2014. So we
Go
didn't
back
get
and
Luck. Yeah. Luck may have, although in 2014, I should look and see where Luck was in 2014
That team was not good. That team was not good.
Yeah, in fact, I can do it. I can do it though. Here, I've got it on my screen. This is crazy that I have this accessible, but I just lucked into it. Luck, come on,
the suspense
Andrew
is
Luck. Yeah. We can edit this down, but
no,
Luck,
keep it all in.
So, all right, so Luck going into 2014 season was pretty much a 1.50, which he's pretty much where Stafford is at this year, the very lowest you can be and be in tier 1. Okay. Mm-hmm. So that would have been going into 2014. By the way, back then I didn't have as many voters because I was just starting out doing this. So to me, it's plausible then that going in, maybe he would have been higher going into 13 than he was going into 14 because he had such a great rookie year. Maybe he probably would have been about where Jayden Daniels is, right? Maybe a little higher.
It was the only thing I could think of, but I imagined, because you're a very thorough person, that I was like, he probably didn't start until after. I just thought what Luck delivered for that first year with the limitations around that team, it was just really, really impressive. However, having said all that, we only have a year on this, okay? So Penix doesn't count. Bo Nix was terrific. Everybody's really excited about Drake May, but I don't think
Yeah.
there's as much
Yeah.
evidence to. We don't know necessarily how to feel about it. And then you have the Caleb Williams part of it. It's supposed to be better than every one of these guys. So give me the order of the 4 guys, because at this point, it's just not fair. There's not enough on Penix to even include him in the conversation, or JJ, obviously.
Yeah, so Jayden Daniels clearly number 1, top of tier 2, 17 tier 1 votes, really in a class by himself. Bo Nix is kind of in the middle of tier 3. He's an exact 3.00 average vote. He got 4 votes in tier 2, 42 in tier 3. And the 4 in tier 4 are just, hey, not enough information after 1 year. I don't know if that's a bailout or a cop-out, but a lot of optimism around him, though, not people poking holes in him. I think there's an expectation by a good number of the voters that he could climb up and be tier 2 next year. Then a notch below that, a couple quarterbacks lower in tier 3, Drake May. Drake May got 5 votes in tier 2. That's pretty darn good. 34 in tier 3, with most of the conversation being, hey, liked what I saw. Tough to evaluate because of how bad it was around him. Okay. But there wasn't people like saying, oh, Gal, didn't like this about May. Okay. There wasn't negatives. Caleb Williams is the next quarterback at a still low in tier 3. The only guys lower than him in tier 3 are Bryce Young and a plummeting Kirk Cousins. So with lots of question marks around.
Okay, so let's
Williams.
get into that. Like, give me, it's not consensus, but give me kind of like what people that you really trust out of these voters, the people that don't like him, the stuff that they were saying that maybe is alarming.
Many voters were alarmed, given pause by what they perceived to be real struggles processing the game fast enough. And I think clearly some of that shows up in some of the sacks. That even if you're under great duress as a quarterback, a lot of times you can at least avoid the sack. You can get rid of it. The elite processing guys don't take a ton of sacks. And so that's concerning just because it may not change a lot, right? I mean, if you're not getting the ball to your hands now, you may get a little bit better, but are you going to be, a guy who really sees it quickly? I think that was the thing that came up over and over again. One of the quotes, he's definitely a one talent. I just think it's going to take him longer than Jayden Daniels. He's not playing fast right now. There's something there. His processing to me was almost alarming watching the tape. So that shows, hey, the talent to be tier 1, the talent to be drafted number 1 overall is there, but that processing is alarming and gives me pause. I think there was a kind of like some of these guys looked at it as if, hey, this was an open place. How excited would I be to go to the Bears if they were going to hire me? And whereas I think it was perceived maybe when they drafted him, oh, wow, I'd love to go there, a golden ticket, right? I think now it's kind of like, hey, I'd go there. I think there's something to work with there. The concerns on Caleb aren't a deal breaker. Like, I wouldn't turn down the job, but I'd go in there with my eyes open saying, hey, this could be something that holds him back.
Not great, Bob. It's just, I mean, look, this is the way the position works. So this isn't new. The guy that we all love, or, I know some people were down on him, but I always felt like the people that were down on Caleb were never down on him about anything that they saw on the football field. It was all the other stuff. And so to think of the order of this, and look, Nix, May, and Caleb Williams are completely bunched up here. So it's not like we're looking at this massive separation. And I don't think I am going to ask you, hey, in 5 years, what do you think the order is going to be of these 4 guys that we could talk about? But the first year I don't know. I mean, Jayden, I don't know that there was going to be a ton of people in the NFL that would say, hey, after 1 year, Jayden's better than Caleb. I don't know that anybody in the league was going to say that's an absolute impossibility because of how great Jayden was that last year at LSU. But yeah, right now, Caleb Williams is 4th, and he's not supposed to be 4th out of this group. So
yeah, and I would bet this. I would bet it in 5 years he's not first.
So you think you think a safer bet is he's 4th than he's 5th than he's first?
I would say a safer bet is that he's not in the top 2.
Yeah,
because okay. I think it will be some combination of probably Jayden Daniels, Bo Nix, Drake May, Penix or McCarthy. I think like I almost think it could be hard for Caleb to be in the top 3 among those, possibly. But I would definitely think not in the top 2.
Wow. I mean, I gotta be honest, as a Caleb guy, shook at the moment, but I'll try to get through the rest of the interview.
The other thing is let's let him play too. And he's going to go into a new system, and that's hard for quarterbacks, even veteran quarterbacks. Finicky veterans like Kirk Cousins and Aaron Rodgers, they hate changing systems. So let's not, pass judgment at the end of September. I would say let's give him this season with the new coordinator and see if he grows. This doesn't have to be a death sentence for him, but it's things people saw.
Give me the worst quarterback situation of any of the franchises.
From a franchise standpoint, I think Indy's tough because they, really went all in with a top 5 pick on Anthony Richardson. And it seems like we're almost past the point of saying, hey, it's going to take a long time. It just looks like it's so far away that he may never get enough time to do it. Too many people would lose jobs if you waited that long for something to happen. And then your fallback is Daniel Jones, who, could, I suppose, have a Sam Darnold type resurgence, but I don't know how appealing that is, for that franchise long term to be in this situation where Daniel Jones probably wins the job out of camp.
I can't believe he got 2 tier 3 votes
for Daniel.
I was shocked. Yeah. No, excuse me, for Anthony Richardson.
Yeah.
Spencer Rattler's like, wait, I came in behind him. And then Kenny Pickett, the only guy in tier 5, poor guy. I
feel for him, man. I think he was. I think he could be better than that.
Better than what? Better than.
I think he's a tier 4. I do.
Okay.
I think the situation in Pittsburgh, I don't think was good with the coordinator they had at the time. I pointed out in the piece, like he had the offense was incrementally better statistically with him than it was with Big Ben when Matt Canada was the OC. I think if he had gone to Kevin O'Connell, Kenny Pickett, like I'm not saying he'd be a star or even do what Darnold did, but I think he'd have a much better. He'd be much better.
Is the Darnold conversation like totally different now? Or
yeah, but the last 2 games of the season last year really did put a damper on it. For a lot of people were like, it was close, and that just looked so bad that it's kind of lingering in my mind. I think there's a feeling that, look, he's close to where Geno Smith is in here. So it's not like people feel like it's a huge drop-off. But, the fact that they're going to probably take the ball out of the quarterback's hands there in Seattle and run it more is probably a good thing with Darnold.
You're right, though. If it's not those last couple of games, he's getting more than 4 tier 2 votes.
Yeah, I totally agree.
That's low. I mean, you consider the bulk of what he was that season. And then again, post O'Connell, it's just going to be a lot of guys going, all right, well, let me see you now do this after all the other stops. Excitement about the talent. We'll see what happens here. Give me something that surprised you in this process. I mean, you spend as much time on this as anybody with the quarterbacks and all this kind of stuff, but I'm sure with access to this many conversations, the guys that do it for a living, is there a moment that really surprised you that maybe there was just a completely different way of looking at a quarterback that you had formed an opinion
on? So here's things that were kind of surprises. You end up feeling less surprised in the end because you're part of the process the whole way. I would say things I thought would be different. A little bit surprised Stafford went into tier 1. A little bit surprised Goff moved up when he's losing Ben Johnson. I thought there might be some people that would kind of sell on Goff now, but that didn't happen. I guess I'm not surprised that Brock Purdy slipped a little lower. I just didn't think last year was a big indictment of him. I almost in some ways felt better or as good based on his ability to handle everything sinking around him. I was a little surprised by the level of criticism of Caleb Williams and how consistent it was. And maybe he's being held to a higher standard as the number 1 pick. But it just
by the way, is a Caleb guy, is that 5 people or like 20 people saying that?
It's probably closer to 20. It's a lot because like
that's a lot. That's a big number.
I'm careful to like if there's a pointed criticism, like and it was only one guy, then and even if it makes a good point, like I'm going to balance it out. I'm going to put in.
Yeah,
but
right.
It wasn't like there was 5 people who said I think the processing looks really good. Nobody said that. And a lot of people brought up that as a concern. So I think it's a concern, and he can prove it otherwise. So those would probably be the things that stood out to me in this. I actually didn't anticipate the people wanting Hurts higher, because I kind of agree with where he's at. That was one that sort of got thrown in my face a lot, and I was like, oh, okay, I like that. I like to hear what other people say, because I'm too close to it to sometimes see what the general reaction will be.
There are many tiers out there, folks. If you're a consumer, the tier game has a lot of depth. There's a lot of products. There's a lot of rankings. There's different ways to rank things. Some are based on shapes. But this is coming from multiple. I mean, how many total people are we talking about who work in the NFL now?
Well, there's 50 in the poll, and I'm guessing, I think if you say there's probably 20 personnel people per team, so there's 600 there. And then there's probably, let's just say there's 800 coaches, something like that. But really, of the people that I'm going to talk to, it's a much smaller number, because it's 6 GMs, 6 assistant GMs, 6 former GMs, 5 other high-level execs, 8 head coaches, 15 coordinators, right? So it's a much higher percentage of people that are in those jobs, right? There's not that many that are in those jobs. So we got a good cross-section of decision makers. I call it kind of a market analysis. We get to kind of see what the league thinks.
I love it. I love it every year. I appreciate the time and the effort that you put into this, and to kind of share that window into the way the guys that do this for a living are thinking about all of our favorite quarterbacks. That's Mike Sando. You can check it out on The Athletic. And again, Scoop City, who Rossini's a part of, kind of reminds me of those PFF Whispers things that I used to love. I used to love Whispers. I'd read that religiously. It was good for fantasy guys as well. So I think it just reminded me of that. So it's good to see you, and enjoy week 1. All right.
I sure will. I just want to say something to you too. I do a fair number of these podcasts, but I get the most feedback from our conversations. Hey, I love you with Russillo. I hear that more than with any other one of these that I do. So we got something good going there.
Wow. That makes me feel good. And I'm not even going to say I had a joke lined up, but it was going to be mean, but then I didn't really mean it. But then it's like, does he actually mean that deep down? So I will just say that I really appreciate that you get all of those notes. So
thank you.
Man.
Appreciate it.
Joining us from the Domonique Foxworth Show, and also many platforms around ESPN. You can check out Foxworth podcast on ESPN's feed multiple times a week. And he joins us now, getting ready for the NFL season. Good to see you, man. What's up?
What's up, man? Good to see you too. I see you're in Martha's Vineyard. I just got back from there myself.
Yeah. Saw Van Jones the other night.
Oh, cool. How's he doing? Did he get mixed up with Van Lathan? Is that
it's a Van Lathan joke.
Drama?
Yeah. It's like there can't be 2 vans.
2 black vans. I was going to say 2 black ball vans, but only one is bald now. Our van has went and got his hair taken care of. He went and put down the bucks to get his hairline restored, which I respect. I might need to do that pretty soon.
I respect the hell out of it. I don't think I'll do it. I think it'd be weird for America to just all of a sudden I'm back with some sort of early 20s flow. But
didn't Urlacher do that? He Urlacher and Wayne Rooney. Like, you just gotta commit. You're too worried about what other people think. If you want your hair, go get it.
I just don't know that I care about it as much now. I think it actually hardened me, because it was a real bummer for a long time. Couldn't really talk to anybody about it. There's very little sympathy out there. There's a lot of accepting people now. There's been a big movement the last couple of years. Let's be less critical. They had that clip of the Butterface thing, the Howard Stern deal. They see that clip going around. It's from 25 years ago. And by the way, the girl's not even necessarily that unattractive. The body is just slamming, and she takes a paper bag off her head, and everybody just starts pretending they're fake throwing up. And again, you're looking at her going, I don't know. I mean, I've been in some spots where I would be in a serious relationship with her. I don't really see what the issue is. And then it's like, hey, how did it feel when everybody booed in horror as soon as they took the bag? And so now you're like, wow, that seems kind of fucked up that we used to do stuff like that. So I think that's real progress. I would say young men losing their hair, they're not being afforded the same sympathies.
Yeah, so, there's no defense for young men losing their hair. And I feel like we're still good at making sitcoms still shoot out fat jokes. Like we haven't gotten there yet. But generally, I feel like the tide is turning back the other direction. So get ready. We about to get everything back, guys. Don't worry. Say what you want. It's coming back, and you know it. It's coming back. Warm it up. I wouldn't be the first one to say what you really want to say, but it's just wait a couple of years. It'll be available to you.
Yeah, and I wonder if the Jokic Caitlin Clark thing is part of this.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
That's a fair point.
Yeah, if Jokic were from Massachusetts, it'd be real issues.
That's a fair point. I mean, I think Riley Moss is a little bit responsible too. Riley Moss, the cornerback in Denver, they're out there playing man coverage all game opposite Patrick Surtain. I think it shifts the power dynamics in our world a little bit in a way that I wasn't anticipating. I just wasn't anticipating.
Yeah, there's nothing necessarily being said right now that's definitive. It's just a bit of a let's plant the seed and see what happens. All right. I have a lot of different football thoughts with you. You and I usually go in different directions. But if we start with something, because you sent me a note saying training camp is great. And I didn't follow up with you because I didn't understand if you like what you've seen from different camps, if you personally felt like the experience of camp was great, or you're actually being funny because you don't like it. Because I was thinking, let me start here. Were you easy to coach?
Yeah, I was absolutely easy to coach because I was a 3rd-round pick. Like, it was a pretty easy coach. Go do that. Yeah, you go do that. And I think as far as like being prepared and mentally for the game and that sort of stuff, that type of stuff came naturally to me. But my first team was with the Broncos. And again, speaking of opposite a great cornerback in Denver, I was opposite Champ Bailey. So that might have been hard where you're like, go do this, do it like him. I can't do it like him. I'm watching him. I've tried to do it like him. I'm doing it like me, doing the best that I can. So I was easy to coach, but until I got closer to my contract, end of my contract is then when I guess it did make it more difficult for me to coach, but I know it sounds absurd because I wasn't like some superstar player, but I started saying crazy shit in the media and got myself traded. Wasn't intentional, but I ended up getting myself traded.
You were talking about parity in the NFL recently on one of your episodes. And, as soon as you started talking about it, it was funny because I was like, this is why he and I get along so well, because there's some simple math with the NFL that makes it more likely to be a parity-driven sport. Limited possessions. Hey, I dropped the ball 2 more times than they did. The number of times on a Sunday where you're in that closing window of the 1 o'clock games and you're like, how is this team in this game with this team? How is it 21-14? Like that score where you're thinking they have the ball, they have a chance. Like it doesn't make any sense. And it did dawn on me finally. It's like, well, if you're between 9 and 12 possessions a game and you happen to get 2 extra ones, there's your math. And then it's single elimination and you only play 16, now 17 games for a few years. So it's about the parity probably has more to do with math than it does roster construction or coaching influence and all that stuff. And yet with all of the discussion about how great the product is because of parity, it is a bit like that discussion in rounders where it's like, if it's luck with poker, then why is it the same guys at the final table every single year? Because it feels like the sport gets all this credit for parity, but ultimately it's like 1 or 2 outliers. And then when you get to the final 4 teams, maybe 1 outlier, and then it's the same quarterbacks every year.
I would love to credit them with designing a game that was so perfectly constructed to allow this to happen. But I mean, I think parity is probably the word that we use, but it's really randomness. To your point, you said math, like it's the same thing. And I think that within those calculations, there are things that you can do that can improve your probability marginally. And I think that's the difference. That's why it's not truly parity. It's like randomness, but the good teams are going to be good. Like it's randomness, but we're still going to end up with the best quarterbacks around at the end. And then there's the randomness of those quarterbacks getting hurt. And that changes things. But I think that's what it really comes down to is it gets into the analytics of all of this stuff where we talk about analytics as if it's some big, like defining decision or like future altering and aspect of the game. But in actuality, running everything properly through the right analytical math, increase your win probability 3-4%. It's not as important as having a real damn good quarterback.
So other than the quarterback part of it and the math thing that we're discussing, I do think it'd be easy to overlook this part of it, but what is it about breaking camp and kind of knowing that, all right, we have a good group? Like, sure, it could be the randomness of the turnover margin or whatever, but like we have a group to be able to have advantage in that 3-4% range that you're talking about.
I think that's the thing is like we all think we have a good group. I was fortunate enough to never really have a bad season in my like reasonably short NFL career. So I've never felt good about my team and just been totally wrong. But I think most of the time it's like you just kind of know. And it's specifically with these joint practices, those you just kind of know. If you're around it enough, you're like, we're good. As long as we don't get the bad bounces, things are going to work out or are going to work out in our favor. So I wish I could put something on it, but it helps a lot when you have a good quarterback, which I hate to get back to that, but that's a psychological impact. It helps a lot when you have a positional group that you trust, especially on defense. If you know, at least for me, it works out this way often. It's like you want to be able to put the pressure on some group, which is why like I often advocate for like, if you got a great defensive end and you need a corner, why not draft another great defensive end? Because like the impact on your game would be if we can just rush 4, then that can make us into something rather than trying to slightly improve some other portion. Or it goes the other way. If we have a great corner, get another great corner. We can play man coverage and blitz the shit out of people. I just feel like it gives you more ability to be able to put pressure on the opponent. The same thing offensively. It's like lean in on your offensive line or lean in on your wide receivers. Lean in on something that causes opposing coordinators, to have to restructure their defense and compromise themselves in order to stop it.
Totally with you on that too. I love when a team has a great edge and they go, we're going to go take another one in the first round. You know what? And it's like, instead of, hey, we need a linebacker, we need a safety, we need all these different things. It's like, man, if there's a really good edge, especially, when it's somebody's team, some team is taking him like 15, 16, it means they're great on him, was probably like the 8th best player. And I love when it's almost like roster greed. Where you go, we already have a stud. Let's just add another one in the exact same unit, as opposed to trying to balance some of this stuff out. I don't know. I'm sure different philosophies, different people.
I'm sure there are different philosophies, and you could always find counter examples. But I think in practical ways of thinking about it, it to me feels like rather than bringing everything up to mediocre, if your coordinator is like, damn, how are we going to block all 4 of them? That to me seems much scarier than like, all right, we'll double this guy and then we'll go away from that corner. Like it seems like it's like a maze almost. It's like, I want to build one big ass wall somewhere, and it doesn't have to be the D line. It's just the one that I think resonates with people the most. I think having an incredible secondary is the direction that I think the Eagles are moving in. They went from being a D line first team to being like, and it's the Ravens. The Ravens are the example that I'm looking for. That they are about a secondary, a smart, flexible secondary. And Matabike is a good rusher, but like they don't have an edge rusher. Maybe the guy they drafted turns into that, but they don't have an edge rusher like Terrell Suggs back in the day that was like, all right, we got to get ready for this guy.
Yeah, you're right. Because there are teams, sometimes I'll use this example like Missouri in college. It's like they always seem to have like a guy that puts up these big numbers and whatever their system is, but I don't even know necessarily if like that guy's even that good, but it may be just their approach is balance, right? And look, they've had a couple of really nice players, so I'm not diminishing the entire stretch of the front for Missouri college football history here. It's just a odd example of Baltimore likes their system and they like the support in the back end, so they feel like our guys will get there because we're so tight back there. So if I were to kind of put you on the spot here a little bit, could you run through NFL units defensively that you trust the most? I mean, as many as you want, where you're starting the season going, okay, maybe I don't like this, maybe I don't like this, but this group of these 4 to 5 guys is one of my favorite groups in the league.
Yeah, I mean, I think we named them already, though, like the Broncos. I'm really excited about that because they have that secondary, and they're another team doubled down on what they do well. They went and got a corner. The secondary, and then they have Benito, who's a great pass rusher on top of it, which that unit I really feel good about. There's the obvious ones of like O-line. I think there's concern about Ragnow and with the Lions replacing that, but like that O-line is one that I trust. I think the Ravens secondary is something that allows them a ton of flexibility. I like the Texans. The Texans front is incredible. I think they are going to be a problem. And I want to do one that'll surprise you a little bit. It's like, I really kind of like the Lions defense. We'll see what happens, but like the way that they continued reminds me a little bit of the Bills defense, is that they lose people. They don't have a ton of big names, but they somehow continue to be productive and effective. And we spent so much time last year talking about how the Lions losing Aiden Hutchinson and never really having a compliment to Aiden Hutchinson was going to kill them. They were still pretty good on defense for most of the season. And now, assuming he comes back, and he was on a defensive player of the year pace, Hutchinson, assuming he comes back effective, I think that defense, they might start shifting a little bit more to being a like defense-centric team rather than relying so much on that O-line and Ben Johnson since he's gone.
I don't know that we're going to throw Jacksonville or any of the units necessarily into the conversation, but I know you want to talk about Travis Hunter. What do you hope they do with him this year?
Yeah, I've one of the tough things I think about doing what we do is that we analyze these things, and so it sometimes sucks the fun out of it. And Travis Hunter is, it's cool as shit, man. Like, I think we all need to be reminded, like, we got into this because fucking like cool shit. And if I'm being honest, if I was Travis Hunter's agent, or if I was Travis Hunter or someone, or even a coach, I might be super cautious. And I remember we first started talking about this. I'm like, well, you got to do this first. You got to do that in order to preserve him. Like, I was Shohei in football. Like, I would like to be able to tell this story at some point. It's like, I saw this man do this once in a lifetime amazing thing. So honestly, I'm turning into a bit of a fan. I'm rooting for it, and I'm suspending any bit of like analysis about it. Like, I just want to see it happen. And it may be impossible, but I want to see him try.
It's a bit like the Ohtani conversation where, you just feel like sports put these limitations on everybody. I mean, look, this is something we could talk about in life. I feel like we typecast actors. We actually typecast everybody. Yeah. We typecast each other. Work typecast us all the time. You can do this. You can't do this. And it's like, well, no, you don't want to give me a chance. So then if I don't do it well, then somebody asks you why I was given the chance. So it's just safer for you. Safeness is a big motivator here in the typecasting and the limitations we put on each other. So you have Ohtani, who it's like, I can actually do both these things and do both these things at like an absurdly elite level. And you wonder how many other guys could have done it if baseball were more accepting of it. And look, you mentioned Champ. The Woodson stuff it was like cool because he had a couple catches. But I mean, you go back through it, like Travis, when you look at the snap count and you go, this guy is doing it at a level that no one was really allowed to do it at high level football like this. How hard would it? I mean, I know it's kind of unfair to be like, what would it be like for you to run 60 routes a game on top of everything else? Put us in that mode of trying to figure out what this would mean for them to try to use him this much.
So I can't imagine what it would be like, because I felt like hell after playing one side of the ball. In college, you play more snaps, so maybe that'll help a little bit. And I think that it's possible that you just get to a point where it's a point of diminishing fatigue or pain, because I feel like I can't be any sorer the day after than I was the day after I played a game. So I'll put that aside. And I think, to your point, like, you're right. We run the risk of getting into a much deeper, like, philosophical, sociological conversation about this. But because of the like closed ecosystem of the NFL and the lack of like true life or death, like not life or death, but true like existence or non-existence of an organization pressure, is like, you're going to be more conservative, which is why we see most like innovation come up through college. Because like, if you suck in college and you don't have the right players, you're going to just fall to the bottom. There's nothing to do about it. And I think the fact that Travis Hunter started at HBCU is part of the reason why this is like a real situation. It's like, he was at a school where it's like, all right, you want to do everything? You can do everything. He proved that he could do it there. And then he did it on a higher level. So like, I think that's part of the reason why we're getting this, is because that's the unique thing about him. And to your point, there's a couple different ways to approach this. Travis Hunter is some sort of freak mutation of the human species that allows him to do something else that no one else is doing. That's possible, but that seems unlikely. What seems more unlikely is the strictures of like the way that we think about things has limited our ability to imagine that it could be done by anybody else. I find it hard to believe that no one, I guess that's barring Travis actually successfully doing it. I find it hard to believe that no one in the history of football could have done it. Like, it could be done, I would think, but it just hasn't been because everything's so specialized. And you go to a big time school? No, we're not going to put you on both sides of the ball. It doesn't make sense.
Do you think Deion could have done it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I find it hard to believe watching return punts. Like, yeah. I mean, he caught some passes. He ran some reverses. I remember watching those 49ers and Cowboys games when he did it for both sides, which like he really cemented the value of free agency when wherever he went, that team won the Super Bowl immediately after free agency was introduced. But yeah, I think Deion definitely could have done it.
Yeah, it would almost feel disrespectful for anyone to go, no, Deion couldn't do that. And I'd add this to like the Deion part of it is if people wanted to dump on him, they'd be like, oh, he's not very good in run support. It's like, you know what? Cool. Like, who cares? So it's not like you're talking about some strong side safety in the 90s going, I need you to come down and just crack into everything here and help. No, I'm just going to do this, and no one's ever going to throw over here, and this whole side of the field is gone in a way that maybe the sport has never seen, and I'll make sure I'm also protecting my body. Like, so I think that there's almost it's not a very football thing to say, but to pull it off, there's probably some body management within the game for it to be even a possibility of being sustainable over the course of a season.
I mean, and we're only talking about the edge players. You think that Trent Williams couldn't play D tackle if he wanted to? You think Tristan Wirfs couldn't run like tight? Like the idea that the most athletic guys, you think Aaron Donald couldn't pull or play center? Like these guys can get it done. They're super athletes.
Yeah, like would Larry Allen be easy to block?
No, Larry Allen is destroying your guards and centers. Put them inside and let him destroy them. Like it seems silly to think that as specialized as the game is. So obviously, I don't think there are any tackles that could play corner, but like within reason, within who you were going up against, like I think it's pretty fair to assume. I think the mental part of the game is much more harder than the physical part, especially defensively. It's preparing is a lot about learning week to week. And I think that'll be tougher for Travis Hunter than anything.
You sent me a question, which I think it means you want to answer it because it's a really good question. So I don't know if you already have.
No, I don't. I sent you a question because I thought it'd be interesting to discuss. Anyway, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, it's exactly it. The question was this: is what would be the worst part of being an NFL owner? And I think my gut reaction with it is that I guess getting to a point in life where I literally cared zero about what someone thought of me. Yeah. And I know that sounds very like unionish and all that. I just feel like the NFL owners had a run of excess and greed where they were like, and you got to go back a few years to be like, what did they do? Like, what happened with they did this and they just didn't give a shit the entire time, and it didn't impact the product. It wasn't like anybody was going, you know what, I think the NFL owners are like a special tier of greed, so therefore I will no longer watch their product. Like, that's never going to happen. It's not going to happen. If I wanted to give an earnest answer there, and it's something that I think about in all sports, but we'll keep it to NFL here, even though we know it'll probably wander a bit, is whether it's the NFL and the extra games. And I still don't understand why one team gets the bye, but we know what's going to happen. It'll be two teams. They'll expand it again. They're going to add an extra game. The multiple platforms that you're on. And my favorite thing is when they put the games on Christmas and it was like, now families can enjoy our product together. And I'm like, well, so if I don't have an immediate family, does that mean I can't like the NFL as much now as other people liking the NFL today better than I am? And I don't love the kind of marketing packaging of like, no, you're just fucking going for it. You are all about greed. And I'm not even criticizing the greed. I always wonder whether it's college football expansion of the playoffs, realignment in the conferences, the NBA products, everything all of these sports are trying to do, and we'll maybe keep it to the sports that we talk about regularly, that line of saturation. So if I were with the NFL, I would just wonder, and we might not even be close to whatever that line is. I don't know. I can't tell you, hey, past this point, you will now be a diminished product because it doesn't even feel like we're even close to whatever that line is. Maybe it wouldn't bother me because I'd be so old and rich. I'm like, who cares if in 20 years we went too far? But that line of saturation where you now become a declining product is one of my favorite philosophical things to think about, despite not even thinking I'm even close to having an answer for it.
Yeah, I mean, and this is why I know you mentioned union stuff, but assuming that we're going to 18 games, I think is probably an assumption that most people have made, but maybe it doesn't actually happen because of the union. And this is why having a healthy and strong union is important, is because I think that assuming that the owners will know the right place to stop is unlikely and unreasonable, because more games means more money, which is normally, to your point, the drive and greed, and like having an expectation that the people with most power will lead you benevolently is like a ridiculously dumb trap. It's like you expect people to act in their own interests, and that would be acting in their own interests. A strong union would push back and probably land at a right spot. But I think that, I don't know whether they're right or wrong. I think that the owners look at this more like gradually stretching the elasticity. I don't think they think that there's a line. I think they believe that we'll move it a little bit, let them get used to it. We'll move it a little bit more, let them get used to it. And I don't know that in their mind, they're like, oh, this is the right number of games. They think that they can keep moving it until like the frog in the boiling pot situation, where it's like, all right, they'll still like it. This still feels nice. So I don't imagine that they do think about it that way. They think about ways to increase revenue. And the easiest way to increase revenue is sell more widgets. So they got to produce more widgets to sell.
Yeah, they're not wrong for wanting Christmas games. If they can do it, they're going to have the partners. More people are going to watch it. The NBA is not their concern. So I don't say that. I just was kind of offended of like the insinuation that it's like, hey, this is about football and families and all this kind of stuff. And like, all right, I mean, because nobody, I don't know, I just wish we were in a place in society where like, yeah, it's more money and it's Christmas and people are home and they're going to watch our game more than they're going to watch basketball. Like, we don't care. And then, the Saturday stuff that'll happen once college filters out. And you always wonder, like, will they ever go just, hey, we're going to do this? I know that there's laws against the Friday stuff with high school football and everything, but
you think they can't get those changed?
Yeah, right. So, I mean, I think anything is possible.
Right.
And I'd argue college football has not in a popularity, not in a value thing, but I think it's a diminished product with the realignment and expansion. I think most people disagree with me. I think they've hurt their product long-term for short-term chaos that doesn't make any fucking sense. And everybody's heard that rant from me too many times, so I'm not going to give it to you again. I don't know. Did you have something better? Did you have something better that's different about some sort of self-doubt? I didn't know self-doubt or guilt would even be possible for an NFL owner right now.
I mean, I think what I would imagine is the most difficult thing for an NFL owner is being an NFL owner. And I guess we can bring other sports into it too, because like I don't quite understand with like Grossbeck selling the Celtics and Jeannie Buss selling the Lakers. Like, I think for some of those situations, it's more obviously about money, but I think Mark Cuban comes to mind as someone where you don't think it's about money. It's like, why would I ever sell this? Like, it seems like at this point in my life, this is the coolest, most fun thing. I don't need another $1 billion. Like, I see why Jerry Jones is like, I got tons of money. Like, getting some sort of liquidation event doesn't change my life. You know what's awesome? Owning the goddamn Cowboys. So I guess I was wondering what would drive someone to sell the team. And the thing that I would think is tougher, and this probably comes from my experience in negotiations, is that in the NFL, being an owner of a team is pretty cool, but not being on the management council, like, because in your life you have so much power. And so the management council is a smaller group of owners that are actually the people that are doing the negotiations, making all they're like helping Roger essentially run the league. I imagine that when you have built up enough money to buy a team and you are the king of everything and you're accustomed to running everything and making all the decisions, being an owner who is not on the management council, that would drive me crazy. The toughest thing about being an owner, I would think, is having to listen to other owners. And also, they all only have one vote. It's like having to lobby people to do shit that I want to do. No, do what I want to do because we always do what I want to do.
That's a really good one. That's a really good one for baseball. Like if you had asked me, and we're not going to talk about baseball ownership, but the thing that always kind of drove me crazy, and it's against messaging, right? Whenever there was any kind of work stoppage in baseball, it's always packaged as like the greedy players. We've gotten better at that, all right? But from being a kid to where we're at now, there's been progress with better understanding of what the players are fighting for, and a lot of times fighting against. But a lot of the problems that baseball has is you have about 5 guys in business in that sport that shouldn't be in the business. And if I'm an owner of a team I'm not even talking about the Yankees, Dodgers, well, Red Sox are a mid-market team now, but I can't imagine what those owners' meetings are like, looking at the guys that own those bottom feeders where you go, dude, your salary, your total team payroll would have been like 21st in 2001. Like this is a joke. So whatever.
It's free riding. Like it seems annoying. And I think from the NFL standpoint, like there's more revenue sharing, so it's not as much an issue. And then the salary cap and with the salary floor impacts that things differently. But there's nothing that from negotiating and talking to Jerry Jones, he hated more than the owners who were at the bottom and who weren't trying to make money. Like he would reference the Bengals not selling the naming rights for the stadium all the time. Whereas our CBA negotiation, like it was a lot about trying to take back a larger portion, but it was also designed to encourage local teams or teams to be more aggressive about generating revenue locally. The divisions the gulfs between players are enormous. It's not as big between owners, but there are still some massive gulfs between owners and the groups that they're in and how they feel about each other.
In that June, I think 27th episode that you had, again, Domonique Foxworth show pod, I guess I don't have to get the exact date, but you started kind of going through some of the NBA and NFL comparisons with the CBA. Who do you think has, this feels like a leading question, who has the best CBA? As somebody who worked on this with the union for the players, and you also worked for the NBA.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's. I'd even be willing to throw baseball in there. As I think sometimes talking about it is hard because of the different dynamics in different leagues. It's hard to argue that the top tier baseball players like make out the best. It's not true about the rest of Major League Baseball because I think players in baseball get the smallest portion of revenue out of any of the major sports as a percentage, but we get skewed by the big numbers and the guys who get the ridiculously huge contracts. But last time I checked, they were the lowest of it. Basketball players have a ton of power and leverage too, but they're such a small community. I mean, I think my biases still remain though. Like I think that it's hard to compare these things apples to apples because they aren't, and like the things, the concerns and the leverages and the friction in the NFL and the opponent in the NFL is so much more difficult than any of these other sports. It's hard to measure the CBAs up against each other. But I don't know. I think the funny thing about like free agency is like the thing that we all look at. I did an episode recently with Howard Bryant about the 1987 strike from football players. And it's just a reminder that we still don't have true free agency. We pretend as if we do, and we celebrate it as if we do, but we still have a ton of restrictions across every league for players, even if you include the draft, just like how restricted free agency. And then when you actually become a free agent, how free are you? I think, the CBAs take a lot more into account as far as that's concerned, but I think it's inarguable that if you're a young player, you could choose to be a star in any one of these sports. Like you go baseball, basketball, then football, right?
Yeah, no question. I mean, the baseball part of it at the high end, but you are right. And I remember,
I'm just saying, measuring high end, like the top, you could be one of these. Like it's hard to argue with what baseball is providing for their top tier.
When San Diego had the All-Star game, Cannell and I did a radio show from there, and we got Rob Manfred on. And I guess he got really pissed about a question I asked, because then somebody was like, why the fuck? He didn't say it, but somebody who was with him was like, why did he say that? And then some staffer from ESPN came over and was like, what did you say to Manfred? I'm like, what? Because I think we got Tony Clark too. And at that time, the year by year trends, I don't have it in front of me, but to your point a couple minutes ago, the baseball players, it was going in an alarmingly wrong direction for just overall percentage of the revenue that was going to the players. So, I mean, I have a number in front of me now that says it was 44% in 2015, and it's back, I think, to 47% now, which is closer to it. But, it is funny. Like, the players in the NBA used to get closer to 60. That deal that they did that everybody got mad about in the NFL, what was it, like 10 years ago, where it was like a 60-40 split? And I think it was it the Bills owner that left? Was like, I have no idea what even just happened in there. And then it was like, hey, next time around, this isn't happening again, right? And we've talked a lot about, it's not about winning, it's how much ground did we lose? Like, what changes do the owners want to implement? We're all temporary here, but the players are more temporary than the owners are temporary. And this is another one of those conversations where it's like we all have landed on like how 50-50 is just right. Who decided that?
Agreed. I don't believe 50-50 is just right. You own your team into perpetuity and you hand it down to your children, while the players, specifically in football, are taking, like, I don't want to be hyperbolic, but DeMar Hamlin, man, like it's real risk playing football. So, like, I get that you don't pay people for the risk that they're taking. You pay them for the product that they're providing. But it just, us landing that somewhere around 50-50 is the right number to me is part of the problem, and it's a bunch of problems in power dynamics. Because you're right about us in the media having better information about, like, where we should side in these arguments. But when it comes down to it, I've been there for a couple of different sports. When it gets to the end, the people in the media are more concerned about pissing off the teams than they are the players. And inevitably, the players are more recognizable and obviously younger and come across in a way that people are easy to turn against, which is why, like, I've had these conversations specifically with a bunch of the union stuff, the, like, trouble that the NFLPA is climbing out of now. I've had these conversations with a bunch of people where it's like, got to be ready to fight. That's it. It always boils down to that. And hopefully you don't get there, but you always have to be ready to fight if you're in a union.
Let's end here then. What's your biggest takeaway of where the union is at right now after all the Lamar Jackson stuff that we learned about, which it's really concerning because there's parts of it that are just straight up fucked up. But if you didn't read anything, I think some of the headlines were really sensationalized about, like, was this, and I'm not trying to diminish any of this stuff because I don't have time to have Pablo on right now, but
nobody does.
Pablo, but
we all do, but we all hate him too.
It turned into, holy shit, the NFL did this to Lamar Jackson. And the way you're looking at me, I think you probably just take it from here and do a better job, because it seems like you understand what I'm trying to say better than maybe I do.
No, I mean, I think the internal stuff in the union was incredibly alarming from Lloyd Howe. And, like, there were some parts in there that were kind of funny, and, like, him changing the parking space number to 32 in honor of his favorite player, O.J. Simpson, which is just ridiculously out of touch and kind of hilarious, but also, like, using union funds to spend all night at a strip club. Like, I don't personally love strip clubs, but I don't judge you. Throw all the money you want at fat asses. I get it. I understand it. Do not throw the players' money, though. Like, those things are huge issues and problems. But I think what I can say about the union since then is sometimes, and this happens in all organizations, is it's like an evolutionary process, is where you sometimes have to bottom out to wake everybody up. And it seems like they've hired the guy that they've hired now, David White, has some union experience, the interim guy, and they're going to have an election, I think, again in March to have have a permanent person in there. I think all of that is encouraging, and now the players are more engaged. That's encouraging. The other stuff about collusion is, like, we know it. We know it. We've always known it. We don't think it's going to stop. It's important to try to reduce it and curtail it. It's it's unrealistic to assume that they won't be talking to each other and they won't be working together and collaborating. Like, this goes back to the conversation about competition. And this is, again, you and I, when we get old and don't care, we can have a podcast episode together where we go down all these like roads that we keep leading to. But like, I think this is like a fundamental understanding about like who you want to have power and how you get power to other people. And I think we all view ourselves as like future NFL owners and future business owners and future billionaires. And it is a funny thing about like American culture, because anything that we've ever accomplished, and it's not just us, anybody's ever accomplished, is a result of collective action. And nothing real has ever happened because one great person did it. And we tell all our stories as if like this one guy did this all by himself. But if you actually like any historical achievement that we're proud of or ashamed of, is a result of a huge collection of people believing in, sacrificing, and committing to something. And so I don't know, I see that the same way as in sports that I see in life. So I think that's encouraging to me, is it feels like the players are paying attention and are going to come together, hopefully. And I think I made this point earlier, is I don't think it's just good for the players. I think it's good for the future health of the game. Like, the places where the league has too much power are the places where the league gets itself in trouble. Like Goodell having all the power over discipline and seeing all the appeals. Like, that led to Bountygate and Deflategate and the Ray Rice. Like, all those things are a result of the league having too much power. And I think the same thing could be true about expanding too aggressively more games. Sorry, I'll get off my soapbox.
No, that was good. You were getting hot. That was a good 45 minutes. Domonique Foxworth, you can check out his podcast again. Multiple episodes every week, getting ready for the football season. But I love nerding out on that stuff with you. So always good to catch up.
All right, buddy. See you.
You want details? Fine. I drive a Ferrari 355 Cabriolet. What's up? I have a ridiculous house in the South Fork. I have every toy you can possibly imagine. And best of all, kids, I am liquid. So, now you know what's possible. Let me tell you what's required.
Life Advice. The email address is lifeadvicerr@gmail.com. If you're watching on YouTube or our Spotify app, and you're like, is Russillo at Hugh Taylor's studio? Which shed is he from? We had an issue with the hotel this morning here on Martha's Vineyard. I asked for late checkout. And I know people are going to kind of turn it into standing up on the plane, because people, for whatever reason, are just obsessed with the idea of finding out whether or not you might be a hypocrite. Because I've talked about late checkout. I was like, if everybody wanted a late checkout or early check-in, there's some turnover issue on rooms. I had some hotel managers follow up with me on that and saying most hotels are 75% vacant most of the time. So you actually could check out earlier, check out later, be accommodating. So I was like, look, I'm taping a pod, and I know this is a bit of an ask. Is there any way I can check out at noon instead of 11? And the guy was excited. He was excited to be like, no. And I was like, look, I understand, we're near the boat and the whole thing, and the weather isn't great today, but I am taping this pod, and you don't want to be like, it's one people actually listen to.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you, because we were talking about this beforehand. Like, I know you're not a like throw my name out there guy, but did you be like, Google me?
No, none of that.
Like,
he was so excited. He was so excited to just say, no, I can't do that. I was like, well, I'd gladly offer you a few $100s to be able to check out 1 hour later. In some places they're like, St. Bart's, they're like, dude, do whatever you want to do, man. Some hotels are like, it's a noon checkout anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Some of the Airbnb stuff, that 10 a.m. feels a little tough. But again, if you're turning over an entire house, I can understand. So I was just like, well, I know checkout's at 11. Is there any way I can just, can you get me to 12? I'll give you a few $100. He's like, absolutely not. We're fully booked. We have no more late checkout availabilities. I was like, so you do have late checkouts? He's like, not anymore. I was like, all right. So then I had to pack up. I was going to go to the library, but the library is being remodeled. But I just love that because it's being remodeled. Learning is a priority. Yeah. So that's long. It wasn't great for me now, short term, long term. It's great for the next generation.
Yeah. Shout out to the kids, Yeah.
Exactly. Great job, Ceruti. So Allison got on the blower and found me a studio where I don't know if that's Phil Lesh's bass from the Cornell show, but we're ready to go. How is everyone?
Kyle looks great.
I'm doing great. I'm doing great.
Really...
There's some cloud cover today, and it's falling away as we speak. So I guess this is just what happens when I try to do this thing outside.
I promise this isn't like a shameless plug, but you really just got to watch the show on video. Like, there's just too much to miss today. So if you don't, you got to check it out. Kyle's got the best setup I've seen. I mean, this rivals potentially Russillo's. We got a pool in the background. We got, what is that? Is that like a space heater behind you too? Like on the porch?
Oh yeah, we got it. Yeah, my brother got that. My young brother got that as a gift. I'm like, dude, that's how you give a gift to your parents. What do they need? I got my dad some fucking Meta glasses that he gave back to me last year. My brother's like, this thing is timeless. So maybe I should take a page out of his book.
Couple things going on. I'm starting to think Kyle has a little bit more bread than we were led to believe, because between the railing, between that lamp,
this is a brand new
heater.
thing. They've been planning this for years. They're very proud of it.
The railing, in-ground pool, the landscaping, that fence situation, the angle that you're at, you almost get a bit of a horizon.
I wanted to give you a peek at the pool. Yeah, there's a tiny little basketball court that we built like a decade ago over there too. Probably just comes out to the foul line, but works for us.
This is like Chandler Parsons' house, just not in Malibu.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just, upstate New York.
You know what? Next time student loans come up, let's pay attention to Kyle. Let's pay attention to what? How does it work?
I left Potsdam scot-free, man. I don't know.
Fannie who? Was I wrong to tell the hotel I'm never staying there again? Because I did say that.
Well, not if you are prepared to commit to that. I don't know what the accommodations are at the Vineyard, but if you're going to be jammed up, like, for a wedding, I don't know what you'd be back there for, but you got to find a place to stay. I mean, would you ever tuck your tail between your legs if it was your last option?
Knowing you, how I know you. Well, knowing you, how I know you, you'd rather be miserable and stay somewhere that you don't like just to prove a point. So it's kind of on you.
Would you sleep in the car on a summer night, or would you, if that was the only place, would you go back there and just be like, hey?
Sleep in a car? No, not now. But I just was like, I can't believe you can't do me this solid for an hour and it's work late. It's not like I'm hungover, Vegas. Can you imagine? Is there any way I can check out? My flight was delayed. I'm like, all right, dude. Okay, let's get to some emails. All right, a couple follow-ups to help the nation. Prison guy. 6'3", 195, bench 135, really 120, but hey, I have long arms. Basketball comp is Jeremy Sohan, because I probably should never play point guard. I'm sure you've gotten 20 of these responses. We did get a few, but Dominic probably got hacked, and this is a scam. It sounded like a scam the minute you said, guy, I don't talk to you, message me on Facebook. Scammers try to create a sense of urgency to get you frazzled before asking for payment. They often send mass messages to everyone to see who will respond. You shouldn't respond, even if you know it's a scam, because it'll encourage them to make the effort to try something more sophisticated later. And also, don't reveal personal info. Telling them you have kids might encourage them to center the next scam around them. Not trying to be scary, just saying they could call and pretend to be a teacher saying your kid is in danger. But that's just imagining a worst case scenario. It's not obvious if you're keeping your guard up. I only really know because I watched this YouTube recently on scam frequently asked questions. Also, my grandma keeps getting asked about spam text saying she's that claim to be Amazon. So it's top of mind. Yeah, I think everybody's kind of in that game right now. I mean, I think I get one a day from
easily Twitter
X that is like, hey, you've lost your blue check or something like that. You're like, the horror.
What am I going to do? There's like postal service ones that I get all the time. Yeah, I got a UPS ground one yesterday that looks legit, but then you look at the actual contact information, it's like, 14 numbers. You're like, that's probably not legit.
A close friend has a dad that's convinced he won these sweepstakes. And it's such a bummer. I hate it so much. I just always wonder, like, will it get to a point where we just go like Suburban Punisher and like 7 guys that get together and they're like, things haven't really worked out. There'd be like a men's support group for guys that were, the wives just left, their kids hate them, and they go, you know what? Let's round up let's get a posse together here and start kicking in doors. I'm not making any ice correlation here.
Nice.
Look, it bums me out so much. It bums me out for the older people, and I just think you're such an incredible piece of shit if you're involved in this stuff. So
I think I told this story before, but when I was in college, a scammer had like, you know, a few pieces of information about me, like where I'm going to school and stuff like that. Called my grandmother and I guess did like a bad version of my voice saying that I'm in jail and I needed money. She calls my dad. My dad like went like 4 hours without calling me, just like, yeah, checks out. Kyle's in jail. He needs $5,000. He leaves me like a really nasty voicemail. And I'm like, what the hell's going on? And he was like, yeah, adds up. Kyle's in jail. I was like, dude, what are you talking about? But so everyone in the family was just like, oh, Kyle's in jail. He needs money. Let's see if we could find a different way to help him.
Your dad was like, let him marinate in there for a little while.
Yeah, let him sit on that. He just left me a terrible. I was like, Dad, I was at the library last night. I'm doing regular college stuff here. Yeah. But it was just funny to me that everyone was just like, well, guess he's in jail. Knew one of these days.
Yeah.
But
figured that phone call was coming.
Yeah.
Proud of you.
Yeah, they nailed it. They nailed that one. I mean,
maybe they had more information on me than I thought. I don't know.
Might have done a little research. Okay, speaking of more research, our razor guy is checking in. Wife's razor follow-up. I work for Gillette. Have to chime in quickly on the email about women's razors. I work in marketing at Gillette, specifically on the women's razor band. The Gillette Venus. You might recall I chimed in previously on the emailer who had irritation when wearing a T-shirt after shaving his chest. I think we do remember that.
Yeah.
You covered it well, but I'll fill in the gaps on the two main points. You know what? I think that's a really nice approach to this because I think right now society, if you're online too much, you're obsessed with, I know what you said, but here's the 7 ways you may have gotten it wrong. Number 1, price versus men's razor. In short, women's razors are now priced the same as men's razors for like. That's quote, like for like items, unquote. However, the perception of an upcharge for women's products, known as the pink tax, still persists in the industry. Now, there are certain women's razors that are indeed more expensive than men's. However, all caps, the higher pricing is behind the additional features that are offered. That was underlined for impact. You guys nailed this part. Big lotion bars, lubrication strip, the economics grip were designed for use on a woman's body. Communicating to consumers that higher pricing is behind these additional features, though, proves to be very tricky, hence the continued consumer confusion on this point. Just to revisit, because I already said it on Tuesday, when I was challenged on oppression somehow in the middle of an ESPN radio segment, and the counter to my confusion, because it wasn't like I was sitting there being like, hey, nobody's oppressed. And it was just like, you know, before we get to Ben Roethlisberger, if he still has it, women are taking advantage with razor pricing. And it's the kind of statement that's made with such certainty. And I would say more often than not, most other guys that are on the air in that spot would be like, I haven't done a ton of pricing research on razors. I don't have that in my...
I got no stats.
I don't. Yeah, I've got Basketball Reference up. I can pull up a play here on Synergy. I don't have a lot of hard data, and I'd have to see the trends, much like the Big Ten success in college football. Like, let's play this out. We need multiple data points. I don't have that in my bag. And so it's such an easy win to say, well, women are oppressed, look at the price of razors. And I knew it was such incredible bullshit. And I was certainly raging on the inside of like, you think you're killing it with this point, but it's so fucking stupid and ill-placed and pointless, and it's my show. And I just was like, look, obviously it's been years and I still don't love that back and forth. But I love that our razor guy got in here basically claiming, or I should say not claiming, telling us the truth because he works in the industry and proving all the internal thoughts that I had. Where I was like, that just sounds like a really cool thing to say that's really hard to debunk in the midst of, you know, I did a lot of AFC East prep today. Mm-hmm. You don't have to follow up on any of that. All right. Point number 2, benefits of multi-blade razor over straight edge. Essentially, multi-blade razors pull and lift the hair slightly with each blade, ultimately cutting the hair below the surface of the skin. For most, that gives the ultimate smooth feeling of a close shave. Cutting hair below the skin, though, can contribute to bumps and ingrown hairs. My 2 cents, nothing's perfect. But just use the multi-blade razor. 3, 4, 5 blades is all basically the same. Those things have highly engineered. They're highly engineered by some really smart people. Whatever you do use, just exfoliate before and moisturize after. That's just great because you get to buy more Gillette products. You may recall from our chest shaving email follow-up that those are the real keys to shaving happiness. And it sounds like we have a shaving expert at our disposal.
It's good. I what I've realized recently is because my wife's trying to get me on like a skincare routine, the aging process, you're supposed to do, you're supposed to prepare, you don't react, to
protecting
you
her
getting
asset.
older.
Good job.
Yeah. And I didn't know, like, do dudes, I don't have a skincare routine at all. I don't exfoliate. I haven't washed my face in, I don't know. I don't wash my face really ever. You just rinse it in the shower. So I didn't know if I was in the minority on that. I asked a couple of my buddies about this.
You don't think that's because you're Italian?
No.
Okay. I just think
so.
that the meaner people might. You don't look, whatever you're doing, just keep doing it.
Nothing.
Don't clean. Yeah, don't clean yourself.
Nothing.
Yeah. I just have a bar of soap and I aggressively wash my face in the shower, like really fast and hard. And that's what I do. I shower at least once a day. Every day in the shower. This
is amazing. One guy washes his face every day and the other guy never has.
Well, he does it in the shower, you're saying, right?
No, I don't wash my face at all.
Buddy. All right.
No, yeah, like I don't put soap on my face.
I got my own things, but I don't know.
This is like that scene in Mad Men where all the women are talking about their nightly facial routine. And then I pat it on. Remember that? No. All right.
Nope.
Well, look, if anybody needed anybody's facial routines from the show, you've got them now.
Yeah, drop one. I'm interested. So if anybody's got a good one, got to get on that.
Okay. How about an email? 510-175, no Jim stats. I work the night shift in a factory in the automotive industry. Our shift, we have around 40 to 50 employees working. I've been working here for a year and a half. Like my job. I get along with everyone I work with, except I don't know the names of the people I work with on a day-to-day basis. They know my name, and I generally don't need to know their names, but I will at some point, and I wouldn't mind knowing. He's a year and a half in. He's like, what would be nice? Knowing a name.
His big secret.
Yeah. I wouldn't mind knowing the people's names I work with regularly. I'm not sure how to learn their names without asking. I don't want to embarrass myself by asking them. Yeah, I think you're outside of that window. I think at 18 months, it's kind of a tough.
Nicknames. It's got to go nicknames.
Didn't catch your name.
Mustache.
When I was off for these couple months, I joined a men's pickup league.
I love that one.
Bunch of dudes that I didn't know. It was just a bunch of randoms from the town. I don't think I know. So we're talking like probably 10, 11 dudes. I don't think I knew one of their names. Not one. We played a dozen games together. Not
Bounce
one.
Pass? You got a names for them?
We're all on a group text. I have no one's name saved.
Licorice?
Yeah.
I love nicknames.
All right, let's keep. There's still more to the email. It's a high turnover rate, so I don't learn a lot of names, but I would like to know the names of employees I work with and converse with regularly without embarrassing myself. So my question is, how should I approach learning close to 10 names without outing myself and coming off as an idiot? Problem solved. You're going to have to buy a meal for like the 10 people that you want to learn their names. You have them look at the menu. Then you watch them, write it down, and say, hey, put your name above their order. And, look, you're going to be out maybe $75, but it's too late. Like can you go to the new guy and say, hey, can you ask him his name? I don't know that you're going to be able to avoid, I think, what you think is going to be embarrassing. I mean, you could also be the kind of person who just doesn't care. I mean, the guys that just don't care, still, I wonder if they have life figured out. Okay. Like, yeah, I've been here a year and a half. Like, what's your name again? And it's just like, oh, Sam, but you don't want to be that guy. Go ahead, Kyle. You seem hot on something.
I got two things here. It's 2025, right? You're working in a factory, right? Somebody's got to have email addresses, right? There's got to be something like that. Maybe are you on, or is there a calendar that there's got to be some sort of schedule somewhere, right?
Is these ideas are better than the food order?
Is anybody on LinkedIn?
It costs you less money, I think. I don't know.
Wait, LinkedIn? These guys are turning wrenches, Steve.
I don't know. I don't know if anybody's on LinkedIn. You get there, you just Google the company, and then you look up the Facebook kind of thing there. I don't know.
Window caulking, forklifts.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe there's some higher up people, and I don't know. I'm just an idea.
Yeah, I think there's got to be some sort of. Are you friends with anyone on the operations side that really won't interact with everyone? You're like, I really would like just a quick. This will take 5 minutes. Just. Maybe you could be in the office and point when no one's looking. Like, who's that guy? Or there might be some way
you get somebody.
there might be like a operations. Who hands out the checks? I don't know. There's got to be somebody keeping shit together in the place of business who's got to know people's names. So maybe you can just walk in there and be like, maybe you buy her lunch. Then you buy one lunch. You get all the information you need.
What about do you throw like a little office luncheon and just hand out like those write-in name tag things where you just just
you're gonna
say,
get your own
you think that's a better idea than, hey, give me your to-go order, post a luncheon.
Get your own
write your name tag on.
Hey, it's the secretary.
Start an email loop and be like, I want to just stay in touch with you guys during the hours we're not together. So everybody give me your email.
Start a fantasy. It's right now. You can do it right now. Start a low-stakes fantasy league.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but they're not going to name their teams after themselves. I guess actually, if you looked at the team,
actually, if you go to like Yahoo,
yeah, you're right.
Before you change your thing, it's like, this guy's team, that guy's team.
Team Crichton.
So a season long, who knows? It could be 8 seasons. He doesn't even like football, hates fantasy, forgets to set his lineup all the time. But he's like, at least I know Carl. I know that Carl.
You always look like a Doug to me. Yeah. That checks out.
He's our plastics guy. Learning names, I'll tell you, if you can just, as soon as you meet somebody and they're like, hi, my name is Kyle. And you go, hey, Kyle. And then you do like, Kyle. K. Looks like he's good at karate.
Are you Michael Scott in this thing right now?
Yeah. My friend Pat Hearn. It does work. It does work. And I'll tell you too, like some really successful people that I've met, it's like a magic trick when you meet them again and they know your fucking name. And I don't think it's necessarily an IQ thing. I think it's something that guys, whatever drives us and whatever we prioritize, it is. I've noticed it with some people that are really, really successful, and they, there's plenty of people who are successful that never have to remember anybody's names. I also think if it's like one person that then is always meeting new people and they're never necessarily like introducing themselves to massive groups of people, like the math on that, the ratio of it's almost unfair to expect like, hey, we met, or we did all these different things. But there are some people that would fall into that category. And then when they remember your name, you're just so blown away by the whole thing. And I think I don't know that it's just an IQ thing. I think at some point they were just like, I'm determined to figure this out. And there's plenty of stuff online to go ahead and do it. Sometimes I do it. And then sometimes, again, in Usain Bolt speed, I forget the person's name the second they've said it out loud.
I just black out as soon as we start exchanging names. And I just am like, cool, I didn't listen to a thing you said. Wait, it's so strange because I feel like I'm a decent listener, but I don't know if it's because I'm nervous to like make a good impression and not screw up the handshake or something, that I just don't listen to the name.
Is it nerves?
I don't know. You meet new people and it's like, there's a lot. I guess it depends on the setting. Like for the basketball and specifically, there were so many guys that I'm like, I don't even know. Like it's like a hurricane of meeting new people that I'm never going to get this.
I don't know if it's nerves, but I certainly hyper focus on executing a good handshake. Mm-hmm. I'm one of those guys who my dad was like, this is important. You know what I mean? You got to have, your hands got to be dry. You want to get right in the crux of that thing right there. Some guys will stop you early and like squeeze your fingers together.
Early
like,
squeeze.
Damn, that was a fail. That was a fail.
Yeah. It's like crossing the fucking railroad tracks.
So yeah, I wouldn't say I black out, but I might not be 100% aware of everything else when a guy's saying his name and I'm trying to pull off a great handshake.
Trying to get deep in there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like I want the physical touch. I want that to be the lasting impression, but I'm not going to remember your name in 3 minutes. I met somebody recently whose front name, also known as first name. What's your front and back name? I don't know it, but I know kind of the range it is because the name is very similar to a terrorist act. Yeah. So I was like, what?
Jihad?
Nailed
Car
it.
Bomb? Oh.
Ceruti, first guest.
Just because the guy in the Eagles, I don't know.
Yeah. So I'm like, I think, but then it's really hard to be like, hey, Jihad, what's up? And then it's like, that's not, it's not my name. What? You thought my name was what?
That sucks.
Yeah. So I'm just what's up in it now for months.
Yeah.
What's up?
Yeah, I can see that.
That's the best you could do at this point.
Yeah. I don't know what else I could do. Okay. Professional athlete checking in. Love when we get these. Makes us feel noticed. Like a sophomore at Wisconsin making a duck face on Instagram. What's up, boys? Longtime listener, first time caller, professional hooper here, 7 foot, about 280 or so. Basketball comp would probably be Kevin Pittsnoggle at best. Pittsnoggle was a fun player.
He was a problem.
That guy must have loved him some Eminem. What are the odds Pittsnoggle's like actually never got into it? Low.
It is low.
It's like Woodstock 99, dude. Break stuff. Fucking right in the front. Long story short, I met a girl in my hometown. We had a great connection. Spent about a month together. Loved every second of it. Wow, every second? As of now, I'm headed back overseas to, well, I guess he's headed to Croatia to play. She called me a couple of weeks before my departure and says she doesn't want to do the long distance. What do? Just let it go and chalk it up to the game. Try to fight for it. We already planned her coming to visit, and she was excited about it. Thanks, love the show. Well, all right. Kyle, go ahead. You're shaking your head vehemently.
I mean, even if everyone's all in on this long distance thing, I'm dubious at best.
Well, she's not already.
I know. I'm saying if everyone's like, yeah, sign me up, everyone in the relationship, I'm dubious at best. If somebody's saying this doesn't seem like it's, if you're trying to convince this thing, this is like, this is terrible. You're the loser. Like you bought a thing that's not great at the highest interest rate. It's just not, you are the loser in this one. It sounds like she's got reservations for one reason or another.
Transactionally.
Yes.
Yeah. I just don't want to call this guy a loser. He's playing hoops in Croatia.
Correct. I'm just saying you're the loser in this transaction. There you go.
I was doing that for him more than us.
I don't think that I don't think she would even take this trip. She might find a reason to wiggle out of it because it's just a text message or a phone call. Like it's not, and then you've just spent, I don't know how long your Croatian basketball career is going to last, but those are probably some pretty good years. You might want to get a jump on whatever's next. So I don't know. It sounds like she's trying to give you a subtle hint, or not so subtle even. And maybe when you're not long distance, if you don't screw up this relationship by doing this long distance, maybe saying stuff you guys will both regret and doing things you can't recover from. If you just leave it at this cool point, you can maybe come pick that back up when you're done, off season or whenever you get back stateside.
How old is he?
I forget. I don't remember his name.
I don't know that we got an age, did we?
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I assume he's in his. About early 20s would be a good guess. Keep the dream alive. I only ask because, it's different, but it's kind of similar. Like, I did this in college. I tried to convince a girl to keep dating, and it was just, it didn't work out. Shocker.
Where was she?
Well, she was a year younger than me in high school still, so that was kind of a bummer.
Weirdo.
First off, young for my age, born in November, was 17 in college, so don't worry about it, dude.
Bro, me too. I got you. Me too.
Late birthday, dude. Come on.
I dated a girl who got left back, and I went from middle school to high school, and I was like, I think we have to end this. I can't date a middle schooler, even though she's like older than me. I was like, can't get out. The world can't get out. It's just like we got to pause this.
That feels like the right call.
We got to pause this.
It's
like she's older than me, but it goes to a different school, the younger one. It's like, can't do it.
Yeah, you can't be telling people you're dating middle schoolers, no matter how old you are.
No. So,
really, you can't be you can't be a ninth grader who date. Dude, what if the junior high is across the parking lot?
Different buses, bro. It's different buses.
Different buses is the standard. Yeah, that makes sense.
Come on.
I just know, like, if my buddies in my group, if it was like if I was dating someone in middle school, even if I was in ninth grade, I would never hear the end of that. So
roasted. Yeah.
So it's probably not worth it.
Yeah. That summer was it. I was like, damn, you really got my back. Come on.
Back to our guy though. At least, you're in Croatia. It's a pretty cool country. Like
very cool.
I feel like there is some upside here. Yeah, maybe. I'm with
people
Kyle.
Love
like,
it.
A lot of coastline. A lot of coastline. They steal. One of my favorite memes is that like Bosnia one where they're like,
we want to go to the beach.
We want to swim. No. Croatians, no. I didn't even like it. I don't know. Croatia seems like a cool country. A lot of beaches. You seem probably young, I would guess. I know it's going to sting now, but you're going to be an athlete in Europe. Like, there's a good chance, and you're American. Like,
he loved every second of it, Steve. Sometimes it's just right.
Yeah, but dude, you could totally leave this at a point where she has respect for you. You have respect for her,
and you never know.
I mean? This is a plus 5,000 odds that this works out with all the information I have. But you could take that long shot and come back. You know what I mean? That you could come back to this thing where everything's good, and as long as she doesn't meet somebody and have kids and whatever, you could totally give this another run. Maybe you got a title under your belt by then. Who knows?
Ring
Focus
culture.
on this year.
I have one question and a couple points. The most important thing is, are you a 15-7 guy or are you a 5-2 guy? Right? Like, what are we doing? What's the VORP look like?
So I didn't want to say that.
If you're getting buckets, right? If you're getting buckets, to Steve's point, it's probably going to work out, and it means you're probably going to be playing overseas for quite a while. If the end is near and it's that window's closing a little bit tighter than you would like to admit. And you liked every second that you spent with this girl. And it's also, by the way, no guarantee. Like, how are you going to feel if you say, hey, I'm not going to go play overseas anymore because I'm in love with this girl, and then month 2, you don't love every second together. And now you're like, fuck. Now, again, if you're a 16-7 guy, there's probably a spot for you somewhere. I also need to know kind of where she's from. Is she from New York City? Is she from Chicago? Is she from San Francisco? Or maybe dating a guy in Croatia, although she must have a thing for tall guys. She's not going to find 6'8" dudes just walking around all over the place. They're hard to find if you're into that kind of thing. So, does she have options, right? Yeah, good point. Not many, but they don't hide from you, Kyle. Well said.
Nice.
If she's Vermont, Western PA, sketchy part of Rhode Island, she might be all like, again, what's Woonsocket? So why not just play it out in your head of like, how much of a runway do I have as a player? I just don't like anybody who can play and get paid. And I know there comes a point where it's like, it's probably time for real life, and the NBA thing is never going to happen, but I just would never be in a hurry. But maybe that's somebody who never played in a game that anyone ever cared about. So I may be the wrong person to ask about this. All right.
Wait, so what's your verdict?
Keep hooping.
Yeah, that was never in doubt. I didn't want to bring that up, Ryan, but I was thinking the same thing, because my thing was like, maybe she kind of realizes that this is like not really a long-term solution here. And she's just like, well, I'm not going to hitch my wagon to a guy who's averaging 5 points a game and playing 10 minutes. I don't know. And not to be a dick.
You could also do, sorry, Ceruti.
No, that's it. But
yeah,
just a bummer.
You could also do the thing that almost no one does is, hey, maybe we're not going to get married after only knowing each other a month. And, I'm already signed up to go play in Croatia. Maybe I'll miss you. Maybe you'll miss me. Why don't you come to Croatia and check it out? I'm not going to live here long term. So maybe try to de-escalate the stakes, de-escalate the pressure on where the relationship is just a month in. But I think it'll have a lot to do with her options and where she lives, because I think a lot of girls would be like, women would go 6'8" Croatia. Like, I'll check it out for a little while.
I got nothing else going on. Yeah.
I'm DTF. Like, what else? Star market. All right. That'll do it for the show today. Thanks to Ceruti. Thanks to Wargon. Was Wargon here today?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel bad about this.
Hey, Wargon. How's it going?
It's good. You don't got to feel bad.
All right. Good checking in.
Yeah.
Jonathan Frias, Kyle, Ryen Russillo podcast on Spotify and YouTube as well. And, of course, part of Ringer Spotify.
They were going to name me Michael Jordan. My dad was like, I don't think he can live up to it. So they named me Michael Jared.
Must be 21 and older and present in select states. For Kansas, in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino, or 18 plus and present in D.C., Kentucky, or Wyoming. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit rg-help.com. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut, or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is there. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts, or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York.